Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Focus Wales at Glyndŵr University. My name is Graeme Park, and please welcome Charlotte Church. So Charlotte, thank you very much for coming along.
No worries.
Tell us why you're in Wrexham.
So I'm in Wrexham to perform tonight at Central Station for the Focus Wales Festival. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Good, so that's something for you all to do tonight. Right, so Charlotte, you're only 27, but you've had a very, very long, quite illustrious career. But you started off as an opera singer, and now, don't take this the wrong way, bit of a rock chick.
Yeah.
Bit of reinvention along the way. Just talk us through that.
Well, it's never been sort of, never felt like purposeful reinvention so much. But I think when I first started, I wasn't really an opera singer. I was like a classical crossover sort of artist, and just got lucky and got a deal immediately, and just everything just started happening, and it was just much bigger than any of us imagined. Anybody in the business or in Sony, the label I was with, or especially not the family, we had no idea what was going to happen. And then it just blew up, and then we went all around America and all over the world, and it was incredible, an incredible experience. And then because I was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, whilst I was doing that, I was fed up by the time I was 16 then, and I just wanted to go back home and be with my friends and be a teenager and not do such massive, highly pressured things all the time. I just wanted to go home and be normal. And so I did that for a bit, and then I wanted to do something else. I wanted to write. More than anything, I just wanted to not sing other people's pieces, and not, with classical music, it can be, you have to sort of sing the lyrics that are there for the notes that are on the page, for the rhythm that they are and whatnot. So, and I wanted a bit more freedom of expression, so started writing. But I was only a pup, so I listened back to my pop album, which was Tissues and Issues, and I think, I was so little. So I did that for a bit, and then I had some babies, and and then I just really wanted to make music again. Like, I think it's something that once you've had a taste of it and you know that can be a career path, as I had, then I just didn't want to stop.
Well, you mentioned Sony. You were signed to Sony, and you quite famously left them. Didn't you kind of negotiate the end of your contract? And you're releasing stuff yourself now, kind of the do-it-yourself ethos. Yeah. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I think that after I tried a different way before. So my last album was called Back to Scratch, and I did that with a company called Power Amp. So that was a different thing. So they're not a label; they're just sort of a funding process. I don't really know. It was sort of really complicated. And anyway, that didn't really work for me either. It just didn't have, although they had the initial money to back it up for a marketing campaign and all of that sort of stuff, they didn't have the structure of a label that you need to be able to make all of those different components work. So after that, I just thought, that's the only way for me to do it right now. It's the only way I'm going to have complete creative control, which is all I've wanted for a long time, really.
But surely you could, even now, you could probably get yourself a good deal with a major label. Why not go down that route again?
I don't know. I suppose I'm just a bit jaded. I'm a little bit cynical, and also
27 and jaded,
I've been in the business for 15 years, so. You see some things along the way that make you just go, I don't want to go back there, Yeah,
but I mean, A&R men or A&R people get knocked, but they do have a role. They are good at shaping someone's career. And if you do it yourself, you don't have that, though. No,
I understand that, but I think that A&R men are becoming a more rare breed in this new music age with the internet, etc. I've heard stories about record companies that just hire in different people who will basically just scour the internet for tracks, and they will sign a track. So they won't sign an artist or an album or an EP or, any sort of anything with any longevity. If a track takes off, then fair enough, then they're signed in a sausage factory. But I just don't want to be a part of that. And yes, an A&R man, a great A&R man, which is quite difficult to find, may be very instrumental in being able to shape and mould, but who's to say that their opinion isn't wrong? I mean, they know what may be successful. It depends what your aims are. And at the minute, that's not my aim. My aim isn't, I mean, of course, as a byproduct, it would be lovely.
Yeah.
But my aim isn't for success right now. My aim is to be creative and make great music, hopefully.
So it's about having the freedom to do what you want to do without
Yeah.
the pressure of a big machine behind you.
Absolutely, and so that I can really state, because now I'm a bit older and I sort of know much better who I am, what I want to do, where I want to be, the music I want to make, the image I want to portray. I didn't have a clue about all of that stuff when I was younger. Even when I was, 19, 20, 21, I didn't have a clue. So I just don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary to have somebody advise you on every step of what the music should be, what your image should be. I just think that's sort of surplus to requirement in some cases.
Is that just because it's the 21st century and the music industry is not as relevant as it was in the last century?
No, I think it's because the reason that all of those factors are put in place is for commercial success, and isn't necessarily always about artistry.
So is artistic freedom more important to you than commercial success?
Absolutely.
But haven't you got the luxury of being able to do that because you've had the commercial success?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be able, because I'm self-funding everything as well, which is tough, but as I said, it's sort of the only way I can do it right now at this juncture. And it's been an incredible experience to be able to make all of the decisions about the artwork and the font and snare sounds and the whole shebang, and not have an A&R man say, well, to be honest, the chorus is not hooky enough and you need to put some more hooks in there. The lyrics are a little too complicated, maybe you can simplify them. No, so I don't have to deal with all of that, which is lush.
That sounds nice. What advice, though, would you give to anyone out here or anyone watching this who would love that creative freedom but haven't got the luxury of being able to fund it? What advice would you give them?
It's really difficult, especially now because of how music is sort of, I think, broadly speaking, its worth has been lessened because we have music everywhere, music on adverts, music in films, just music everywhere. So it's not, and there's also hundreds of thousands of people trying it out, maybe writing some songs in their bedroom, and it's just like steps up all the way. But there are hundreds of thousands of artists trying to push through. So it's difficult, really, what advice. I suppose, I think that if you really believe in what you're doing and the music that you're making, for me it's about not compromising. And I think a lot of the artists that I love, that I really look up to, throughout their careers were uncompromising, whether that sometimes worked out brilliantly for them or didn't in some cases. I don't know, that's the thing that sort of sticks in my mind, that one word. So
is this why you're doing a series of EPs rather than an album?
Well, with an album, I've never done any EPs before, so I thought that was just sort of interesting because I've never worked that way. And also I didn't want to make an album, put it out, have, loads of advertising and whatnot and shove it down people's throats. Like, we're advertised to so much that I just wanted it to be more of a natural progression, that hopefully people would find it, and people are going to be have preconceptions about me and the music that I've made in the past, and may therefore come to this new stuff that I'm doing with negative sort of feelings, possibly. So I think through the series of EPs, it will first of all enable us to grow as a band and songwriters and producers, because we're doing it all in-house. I built a studio in my garage.
Excellent.
So it'll enable us to sort of grow and evolve and change and not necessarily kind of... I think with an album, you go into the studio for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it is. You put it out, you tour it, you go back into the studio. Do you know what I mean? It's just a much longer process, whereas this can be a little bit more natural and flowing. Don't know what this is about.
No, don't worry, it's good. talking about the studio in your garage, what software do you use? Do you use Pro Tools?
Logic.
Oh, I tell all my students that Pro Tools is the way to go. And I'm like,
yeah, we've got Logic and Gethin John, who is an amazing sound engineer, and he'll be doing the sound engineering for our gig tonight as well. We work much more like a collective, so it's much less like a solo project, and much more just like a collective of creative people in lots of different areas of music trying to come together and make something cool.
You mentioned earlier that the people you listened to as you grew up, your influences. What are your musical influences? What inspires you to make the music you make today?
They've massively changed throughout the years. When I was younger, I listened to lots of sort of emo rock and Silverchair, and then some opera, and then a lot of orchestral music. I loved orchestral music. And then when I was like a bit of a later teen, it was all about R&B.
All right.
All about R&B exclusively.
Okay.
And now I suppose, you know, I listen to everything. Everybody generally says that when people ask you what do you listen to, I listen to everything. But I listen to everything that I think is really good.
So do you take, if you listen to everything and anything, do you take little bits from different things?
Well, yeah, and you go through phases, don't you? So, like at the minute, I'm loving Deerhoof, and James Blake's new record is incredible. And I love I Am I, Who Am I? And loads of different people. But my life is literally saturated with music. My partner, Jonathan Powell, who's also an artist, just literally, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, is just constant music. If it's not like something playing, then somebody's on the organ in the other room, somebody's strumming a guitar. And because the studio's in the house, in the sort of the garage, then there's just a constant stream of, you know, musicians and stuff. So there's just so much music about in my house, which is awesome. But my ears do get a bit tired after a while.
Tell me about it. Right, you're very famously a Cardiff girl, right? How important is Wales to you and the Wales music industry?
It's massively important, and I think also what I've tried to do with the EPs is keep it as local as possible, and use as many local people in terms of whether it be web designers or whatnot. Try and keep it as local and as Welsh as possible, because I think that it's sort of different. London and Manchester are obviously sort of the biggest music hubs in the UK, I think. And I think it's sort of difficult to push through when you're from any of the regions. So what I'd love to do is sort of try and create a little music scene, because there's so much talent here, is create a little music scene in Cardiff or centred around South Wales. And just try and set up some sort of infrastructure. So whether that be, you know, a music lawyer or really good photographers to do shoots and video directors and whatnot. And we've already got, you know, like a wealth of artistic people that can do all of that stuff. So the guys who made my first video, Casey and Ewan, are Cardiff based, and are really inventive and got mad ideas. And so they were awesome. They did How Not to Be Surprised When You're a Ghost. But yeah, so we're also going to set up a publishing company and just try and build a little infrastructure.
What about the rest of Wales, though? I mean, is it not important that North Wales and the West get a look in as well?
Absolutely, but you've got to centre it where you're sort of based, and I'm based in Cardiff. So, I mean, we will massively focus on Welsh artists and Welsh music coming through. But I think it's important for all of the regions that are sort of overlooked a little bit because of London, or whether it be Manchester, which is a smaller hub. But yeah, the whole of Wales is massively important to try and, you know, give artists a voice, really.
You mentioned the videos. I was looking at them online. They're really, really good, especially How
Not to Be Surprised, yeah.
The Ghost. Tell us about them. I mean, presumably it doesn't cost. They look expensive, but I'm betting they won't cost loads to make, did they?
No.
Tell us how you made them, because we've got television degree people here as well, you see.
Yeah, they were really pretty cheap to make in terms of what a general music video costs. And yeah, we used the forests by my house. A lot of the kids were our kids. We just sort of made some costumes for them and let them run around, and they had a ball. I just kept it really simple. I did my own hair and makeup.
And were you involved in the creative process for the videos as well?
Yeah, absolutely. But with Casey and Ewan, they've got such incredible, mad ideas that sometimes you just got to let them be. So with them, I just sort of let them be. But the new videos I've done for EP2, where I've done a video for every track, and I did that with a guy called John Bland, and I got introduced to him through a friend of a friend. And he was amazing. Basically, he was just going to do a video for Glitterbombed, and but they heard the rest of it, and he was like, "Let's make it all. I want to make a video for all of them."
So what about that makeup you got on? Like blue and gold?
Yeah, that was crazy.
How long did that take?
Not too long. Actually, that bit took ages because it was all gold leaf, and then when they took it off afterwards, I'd had an allergic reaction, so I looked like a blotchy red leopard. It was lush. It was amazing. Yeah, but he also had really strong ideas. But I was much more involved in the creative process with that one. But he had these ideas about the projectors and stuff on my face, which is cool. But it's all about just constantly trying to think of new ideas and what really works with your sound. So right now we're thinking about what EP3 is going to sound like because we've been in the studio making EP3. And where it's going, and we were thinking about our stage show and that we'd love for it to be, we'd love to do something with 3D projection mapping, which is incredible, but probably really expensive and unlikely. But it's a dream, and everybody's going to have one. But we do also try and make the stage shows as dramatic as possible because the music's pretty intense and pretty full of drama, so we try and make a show of it, you know.
Good. Do you ever sing classical still? In the shower, maybe?
Occasionally.
Warming up?
Yeah, I mean, all of my vocal warm-ups consist of lots of classical warm-ups because in the music that I'm doing now, I still use my whole range, and there'll be notes that I will hopefully...
How many octaves is that?
I don't know, probably about 3.5.
More than me.
Yeah, I think about 3.5.
More than pretty much everyone here, yeah. Impressive.
But some of the notes I'll hit tonight, with a bit of luck, will be pretty operatic in their sound, because that's the only way I can hit them. So
tonight, and in fact, when you play live, obviously you'll be doing the tracks on the EP, which you can get from iTunes, yeah? What about an album? Will you be doing an album in the future?
Well, the plan...
We'll be performing tracks people haven't heard as well tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do a cover as well.
Are you going to tell me or not? Or is it a surprise?
No, I'll let it be a surprise.
All right, okay. You can tell me afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, so basically I'm going to do a series of 5 EPs. So we've got another 3 to go, which is terrifying and exciting in the same breath. And then once we've completed them all, you know, release them all together, because that'll be quite a big body of work then, much more than an album would be. Yeah, and maybe, I don't know, try out some remixes and all of the general sort of stuff. But I don't really know, that's quite far in the future.
Oh, right, okay.
I have no idea.
Any bands or artists from Wales that you like? Putting you on the spot there.
Yeah, you are. Man Without Country, who I know are playing tomorrow, we went to see them in South by, and they were really, really brilliant. There's lots of people. Yeah.
No, we've got some good bands here in North Wales because we do a live TV thing here.
My mind's gone totally blank. I'm trying to think.
No, don't worry. I put you on the spot.
Somebody we've been listening to recently. We were listening to H Hawkline this morning. It was really cool. Some mental stuff, really disjointed. I can't remember what the album was called, but that was really cool. And there's like an electro dance sort of. I can't remember what they're called though. It's a Welsh name.
The Gallops. You know the Gallops?
Yeah, it's not the Gallops, but yeah, I haven't really listened to much of them. But yeah. Hey, what is it? Maybe, yeah. Maybe, thanks, John.
Tell us about the Soon Festival in Cardiff. You played that, didn't you?
Yeah, I've played that twice. First time I played it, it was ages ago. Like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago maybe. And we just went under Banded Puma, which is an anagram for made up band. Just because we were right at the start of, I don't think we hadn't even released EP1, just right at the start of the whole idea, and just wanted to to see who would turn up, and you know, rather than it be one of my shows, and what all of the things that my name brings, some of which are positive, because obviously, you know, I'll get opportunities and I'll be able to perform on TV and things like that. But in the same breath, sometimes it's negative because people will disregard it straight away and be like, "No, not Charlotte Church," which I understand is understandable, and especially because the music that I'm doing is so far away from.
Is the kind of like rock and roll, to use a generic term, is it like a bit of a release after being a classical singer and classically trained? Because presumably when you perform classical music, you just stood there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Now you've got the freedom to perhaps go a bit wild.
Yeah, and one thing I've learned through this whole process is I always used to think that it was guitar that I loved, but it's drums, it's the drums. And I think for everybody there's one instrument that is just the one that gets you more than any other. And, you know, since just being in a band, which is incredible as well, because being on a stage on your own is crap. But being with a group of musicians, and, you know, when you all gel, it's absolute magic. I mean, it was phenomenal when I used to perform with orchestras. That's amazing, and that I always felt privileged every time it happened. But being with a group of people who, you know, are like your family, and you know, you've all got a lot of respect for each other most of the time, and you know, it all coming together is a phenomenal feeling. I can't remember where I was going with this.
Oh, don't worry.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Do you mind taking some questions from the audience?
Yeah,
Anyone like to ask Charlotte questions? We haven't got any mics. If you do it nice and loud, and then.
Yeah, I've got friends that's just made it really big in the electronic scene, and he's just got the A&R men all after him. Just trying to mould him and shape him. Is there any advice you can give me to stop him from crying in the hotel room, to just push back?
Yeah.
In that kind of, just, you know, kind of, because all this stuff that he's getting forced to put stuff out,
Yeah.
he's not very happy with.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, is there any kind of like little tricks to say?
I don't know about little tricks, but I suppose what I do and what I didn't do in the past, because I was just a bit too young. I didn't really know what was going on, and I wasn't as strong in my convictions as I am now. But now, if I had a load of A&R men on my back, I'd be like, okay, yeah, absolutely, taking all of your points on board, and then I'd make something absolutely bitchin' that they wouldn't have anything to say about. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So hopefully just totally go way over and above their expectations. So take on board a tiny bit of what they said if he wants to. If they're saying sort of reasonable things, if he can take little bits. But if he can't and they're being unreasonable and it's an opinion which may or may not be as creative as his own. But that's what I said, like with A&R men it's difficult because some A&R men are really shit. And it's just about commercial appeal, and that's all they're looking for is a formula. And a lot of people who take music seriously, when music is your life and your art form, it's not a formula. It's emotion and channeling all of that. Generally, I'd say to stick two fingers up to him and carry on.
Are there any A&R women though?
I've never worked with any.
I've never met one.
Oh, maybe one actually. But she was working under somebody else who was very difficult.
Any more questions for Charlotte? Yeah, at the back there.
I'm just wondering how difficult you found, or if you found it difficult at all, the transition from obviously like the massive success you had, to then doing what you're doing now. You know, playing like Dempsey's. Whether you encountered anything like almost like reverse snobbery and like, do you know what I mean?
Reverse snobbery from
like
from an audience, or
no, like people putting on gigs, anything like anything in the industry that I don't know. Did you find it difficult to work with people? Do you know what I mean? Like
I think did people view you differently?
Yeah, not necessarily. It's not. I think the most difficult part of it is getting people to listen. To my stuff at least. It's just really getting people to listen and be open about it, and then if they like it, admit that it's good, because I mean I've got a long because I've got so much musical baggage and a complicated musical history, I know that I've got a long road to being a credible artist, but I'm good with that because that's the long road, and I don't want to do anything else in my life apart from music. That's my main love. That's what I want to do. So I know it's going to be a long road, and I know that I have to start back at the beginning, which is sort of why, you know, like with the EPs and things, I can just sort of float it out and hopefully build a career for myself and a fan base for, you know, of people who, you know, we can grow together over a long period of time. That sounds really ridiculous. We can grow together.
It will be.
But you know what I
It
mean.
is a long road, but in your case, it's quite a public road. Everything you do is going to be scrutinised.
Yeah,
really. How
I
does
love it
that
when the
feel?
Daily Mail print all my outfits all the time.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, but apparently I'm having a mental breakdown. I'm going a bit crazy.
You know, you seem all right to me. But it must be weird, though, having your every move scrutinised.
It's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. I'm pretty much left alone a lot of the time now, apart from, you know, the Daily Mail.
Because they realise you're just a normal person.
Well, I don't know. I think I kicked up such a stink with all of the Leveson inquiry and stuff that they've just thought, oh, just leave her alone until she really messes up, and then we can... So I just got to try not to mess up, really. But no, I don't really find it that weird because it's all I've ever known is just to be massively scrutinised and looked at and whatnot. But now I feel so proud and so convinced, and not convinced is the wrong word, so sure of what I'm doing and the direction I'm taking and where I'm going and who I am and the message I'm putting out there, that I don't care. You know, if there's scrutiny and people don't like it or people don't like what I'm wearing, whatever. I used to get sort of caught up in that and get pissed off or upset when people would, you know, bad comments and this, that and the other. But now I don't care because I'm like, I'm having a great time. I think it's really good. All of the people I work with think it's really good. We're all having a great time.
Well, that's the important thing. Any more questions before we kind of wrap up? Yes, Andy?
I might cut in. Just so I don't know. Do you ever want to rock out?
Hi. You should come to the show tonight, you'll see. We do quite a bit of hardcore rocking out from time to time.
Andy, you going to ask something?
Well, I was just going to say, you know, where would you like to be in 5 years with your music?
Just building, I suppose. Just building and hopefully still learning. And still upsetting people in the mainstream. That would be nice. Because I just sort of not disagree, but I really don't connect with a lot of stuff in the mainstream, not necessarily just music, just mainstream sort of culture. So, you know, silly things like when I did the Jonathan Ross performance and I had what I thought was an awesome costume with a crazy headdress and it just sort of suited the drama of the song for me. And people were fuming. Like, you know, what on earth is she doing? What a tit! What's going on? She's mental. We're really angry, like, and it just sort of made me go.
The great British public. Any one last piece of advice for? Another question. Sorry, another question.
What would you say if your little children wanted to get into the music industry?
Oh, good question.
I'll encourage them to be musical and to play instruments and to sing and whatever. And they are their own people. They are going to choose whatever it is that they want to do. I would be so nervous because it's hard. It's, you know, it's a really hard industry. But what I would hope is that if they were going to decide to take the music road, that they'd be really good at it. Because I think unless you're going to sort of sell out, you have to be really good at it to sort of get anywhere. So yeah, but there'd be, I wouldn't want it for them necessarily, especially, well, I would do if they were adults and they were comfortable and everything was gravy. But I've got a bit of a problem with sort of, you know, real young ones being taken through. I just don't really agree with it.
But you've got the experience, haven't you?
Yeah.
How old are your kids? If you don't mind me asking.
5 and 4. So
are they aware who Mummy is?
No, not
No,
really.
Still a bit young.
They're aware that
they'll get it one day.
They're absolutely saturated.
And then when they're about
with
12,
music.
you get all the awkward questions.
Yeah, I
won't you?
know. That'd be lovely. Can't wait.
Okay. Any last questions for Charlotte? Yeah, question there.
What about your creative process? So if you're a vocalist and you're working with a collective of people, how do you write songs in that collective? I also had your vocal training in the past influences your writing now.
I don't know if my vocal training necessarily. Yeah, I think that, I don't know, the more you ingest, the more you put out really. So it can be inspiration from anywhere, listening to music, going to a gig, seeing somebody arguing in a street, an idea in a book, whatever it may be. There are 3 writers, it's me, Jonathan Powell and Jamie Neeson, who's our bassist. So we have sessions where we'll all write together, sometimes we'll write separately, all sorts of ways. Generally I get an idea just as I'm falling to sleep, which is really annoying because I don't want to get up and record it so I don't forget it. But that's generally what happens, and then it'll play itself out in my head in full in terms of melody, lyrics, production, all of it. And then I've got to go into the studio and get it out of my head before I go insane. So that's generally how it happens for me, but it's different for everyone. And then of course co-writing is a totally different experience as well. I mean, I'm lucky enough that I co-write with 2 phenomenally brilliant songwriters who I know really well. And we sort of know each other musically really, really well because we've been performing together for a long time now. Yeah, so that's generally how it goes. But I mean, I've started doing a lot more stuff just in the studio by myself. So I'll just like layer up loads of crazy vocal ideas and then maybe get the band in. But generally, once I've done it that way, then I know what the bass line is and I know what the drum pattern is that I want and all of that stuff. Rather than most of the time, what happens is that we get in, we've got a song, and then we figure out arrangement.
How did you meet the band and your co-writers? Did you find them? Did they find you?
Well, I started writing with Johnny for Back to Scratch. And yeah, he was just phenomenal, just blew my mind. Just his lyrics and things, he's just really odd and unique. And then Jamie and Johnny knew each other. And then Dave from Houdini Dax just went to see Houdini Dax playing a couple of times, and I love Houdini Dax, and Dave is just incredible. And is just, once again, he's got his own style. Sometimes he plays the drums, he looks like an octopus, it's incredible. Yeah, and then there's Kieran Bailey, who's our other drummer. I don't know how we found Kieran. Kieran just appeared from the Rhondda. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I play drums too, yeah, lovely. And then there's Robbie, who's our keys and synth player, who is studying, he's a jazz dude who's studying at the Birmingham Conservatoire, and he played on Johnny's first album years and years ago, so we got in contact with him, and yeah.
Everyone Welsh?
Apart from Robbie, who's Scottish.
Nothing wrong with
Jamie's sort of honorary Welsh.
Good. So what time are you on tonight? Central Station tonight? 11:15 with Focus Wales.
Yes.
So everyone, big thank you, a big Focus Wales thank you to Charlotte Church. Thank you very much. Thank you. Brilliant.
Thank you, Jeremy.